Hi everyone, my name is Kritika and today I'll be talking about identity theft. So what is identity theft? Identity theft, simply put, is the use of someone else's identity to gain a financial advantage or benefit. So in other words, it's basically when someone tries to pretend to be someone else or take someone else's identity and uses it so that they can get more money or benefit in some way. What are some signs of ID theft? If you've experienced any of the following, there's a chance that you might be at risk for ID theft. So, if you're receiving calls about a loan or credit card that you did not open, if you're receiving bills for purchases that you did not make, and also cards that you did not open, if your credit score has dropped unexpectedly, or if the IRS has records of taxes that are filed by someone other than you, and if they're using your social security number to do this. How do we identify ID theft? So there's three main websites that we can use to get a better sense of all of our different records and see if there's any chance of ID theft happening. The first is Experian. The second is Equifax, and lastly, TransUnion. And if you look up any of these on Google, they should come up, and they're all pretty reputable sources. If you have any questions or concerns that you're not on the right website, you can feel free to reach out to any of us at Sakhi and can answer questions about the website, and I can email you the link. Before we get started checking our financial history and information, you'll need the following information with you. So, a social security number, an email address that you can access, your current residential address, a phone number. Also, you may have to think of a security question. So, if there are any questions and answers that you have ahead of time that you'll remember, that would be helpful. So, things like what were the street address that you lived on when you were a kid, or they might ask like your mother's maiden name, or if you've ever had a pet, the name of your pet. Those are all good security questions to have with you. Also, think of a password that you will remember in the future. And usually, passwords are more secure if they use a combination of different letters and numbers and symbols as well. So, the more variety you have, the harder it'll be for someone else to guess your password and for it to appear in a password leak. And because this is personal, identifiable information, it's better to make sure your password is very secure. Also, think of a 4-digit passcode that you will remember because some of these websites ask for a passcode for you to provide. So, how do we obtain a credit report? I'm going to walk everyone through an example with Experian, which is one of the websites I listed in the previous slide. So, the first step is to go to the website. And I recommend while I'm walking through this, if everyone wants to follow along on either a split screen or have it open on another tab or something, that way you can go through it while I'm talking about it. So the first thing we're going to do is go to the website. I'm going to go back a few slides so everyone can see the website address. Once you are at Experian, you'll see something that pops up on the screen that says let's go on it. So you can start entering all your information. So once you're there, click on the green button that says let's go. The second thing you'll see is another web page that comes up that says tell us about yourself. And here you want to fill out the details truthfully to the best of your ability. And then lastly, you'll select create your account. I'll go over all this in more detail in a few seconds. And finally, it'll ask you for your social security number and you have to submit that to finish. So right now, everyone should have gone to the website and clicked yes, let's go on the green button that comes up as soon as you get there. So it'll say your credit report and FICO score all free. If you have questions about what that is, what your credit report is, or your FICO score, make sure to watch the other video about credit. I go through all of that in detail there. So once you've clicked that button, it'll take you to this page that says, tell us about yourself. And here you want to fill out the details truthfully to the best of your ability. If there are any mistakes, it can make it harder for you to make another account or access the correct information. So it asks pretty basic information, your name, your street address, that hopefully you have with you already prepared. It'll ask you for an email address and for you to type in a password. And it might ask you a few questions like, why did you visit today? And you can select whatever option fits best with why you're trying to make this account. Once you scroll all the way down, you select create your account. And as you can see, it says here that by clicking, you're accepting their terms of use and agreement. And so if you have any questions about what they're doing with this data or have any concerns, you can read through that policy as well as their privacy policy and ad targeting policy. And you're also agreeing to provide Experian services with your credit report, and you might get notified of different opportunities through your email address. Next, it'll take you to a page that asks you to fill in your social security number. Once you've done that, you want to click submit to finish. So after you've done that, it should take you to a summary page that shows all of your information about your account. And so on the side, you might see a heading that says account summary, and under it will say open accounts, self-reported accounts, accounts of relates, and have all of that detail. And the first thing that I think it's important to do is look at the number of accounts. So look to see if the number of accounts that are open under open accounts matches up with your records. So if you only have one credit card, for example, you might only see one account there. And it should show you details of what that account is, and it should match up exactly. If you think that you have closed an account, but it's still showing up under open accounts, then that's something important to note down. Because so many different credit cards have annual fees that you have to pay, so you still might be getting charged if you are not aware that it's still open and think it's closed. So take a second to go through each of these and make sure that it matches up with the information that you have. So what else does your report show? You should also see an option that says total balance. And total balance will show you any unpaid credit balance across all your accounts. So the balance amount should match up with how much you've been spending. So if you spent $500, you'll see the total balance there. If you've already paid that amount, then it won't show up. This is the credit that you still have to pay that's not paid yet. And it'll show up under like credit card and credit line accounts. It'll show you the number of credit card accounts that you have. So it might say like across 4 credit cards that you have open, the total balance that you have is $300 because you spent like $50 on one, $50 on another, and then $100 and so on, split up between those. It'll add up how much you still have to pay. Next, you'll also see a pretty large number at the top of the page that shows you your credit score. That number should be between 300 to 850, usually 350 to 800 at the top of the page. And this number, like I said earlier, is your credit score. A credit score is a number within that range that shows the credit worthiness of an individual. So the higher the number, the better, because it means that you're more credit worthy, which is essentially just whether you can be trusted to repay any money that you borrow. This number sort of shows how trustworthy you are as an individual in terms of if you've been paying everything that you borrow back. And your credit score is based on a variety of factors, including the number of accounts you have open, any debt you have, repayment history, things like that. The exact breakdown can be seen in this picture where it says payment history, amounts owed. All of these factors will influence your credit score. And your credit score is important because it determines your ability to acquire loans. So if you're applying for a loan and you're trying to borrow money for someone, they might look at your credit score and see if you have a history of paying back any loans that you borrow or paying back any money that you're borrowing. And also employers and lenders sometimes may look at credit scores, as well as landlords for different apartment buildings, just to make sure you can pay your rent and things like that. So keeping track of all of your credit and trying your best to maximize your credit score is super helpful. I also go into detail about the credit score and credit in general in the other presentations. So highly recommend watching that if you have any questions about credit. If any of the information that you're seeing right now as you go through your account does not match up, then your identity might have been stolen. So if you're seeing a credit card that's been opened up in your name and there's an outstanding balance and you never opened that credit card or made any of those purchases, then there's a risk that someone else might have done that. So in order to address identity theft, there's a few different steps that we have to go through. The first step is to call the companies. So you want to call the companies where the fraud occurred and explain to them that your identity has been stolen. So if there's a credit card, that's if you, for example, have like a Visa card through an airlines or something like that, you may want to call the customer service number for that company and tell them that you never opened up a credit card with them and someone else has been doing this. And you can ask them to close the account in your name. The next step is to report it to the FTC. So the FTC is the Federal Trade Commission, and it's a government agency that focuses on consumer protection. So that's basically protecting people when they get credit cards, when they're buying things. And their job is to protect consumers from fraud and any other deceptive practices where people might be doing things like under your name or taking advantage of your identity and trying to steal it. So over here, I've put their number, but you can also file an online report, and this is pretty easy to do. So if you go to identitytheft.gov/assistant and the pound sign, it'll take you to their website. If you look up the Federal Trade Commission online report, it should come up as well. And once you get to this website, you want to see on the very first page, it'll say take action, but you want to go to where it says report identity theft specifically. The third step is you could potentially file a report with the police if you feel comfortable doing that, and if that's an option that you do want to explore. They might ask you for the following information: your FTC report. They might ask if you've already filed one. That is what we talked about earlier here. This is the FTC report where you report it online to the government. They might ask for your photo ID, proof of address, and proof of theft. The last step is to place alerts. So Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion all allow you to place a one-year fraud alert. So while you're trying to take care of everything, if you weren't able to close the account and if the FTC is following up with you in the meantime, this is a really good strategy to make sure that the identity theft doesn't happen again. So in order to place an alert for identity theft, I'll go through another example with Experian right now. This should be available on all the websites I listed, though. You might have to do some searching and find where it says fraud alert. On Experian, we're going to go to the Fraud Alert Center at www.experian.com/fraud/center.html. If you look up on Google Experian Fraud Alert, it should come up immediately. Once you get there, you'll see a page that says this. It says, what would you like to do? And there's a few different options: add a fraud alert, remove a fraud alert, learn to respond to identity theft, and review a copy of my report. So make sure that you're at this page. I'll wait for a second before we go on. But once everyone's here, click add a fraud alert. It should take you to this next page that says, what kind of fraud alert would you like to request? And over here, you are prompted to select the type of fraud alert you would like. So for this exercise, let's start with temporary fraud alert. And this is something anyone who hasn't ever experienced identity theft can also do. It'll just alert you about identity theft happening potentially. So you have an option to select which one best aligns with you. But right now we're just going to go through temporary. You will then be directed to this page, and the report number is available on your Experian account. So you might have to open another tab, go to your account, and find that number. So what we went to earlier with the account summary, everything on there, that is part of your Experian credit report. So you probably will have to just navigate back to that to find that number. But once you found it, you want to fill out all the information, your social security number, your phone number, email address, and click submit. And what this will do is make sure that if they find anything suspicious, any suspicious activity, anything that seems unlike you, they'll send you an email. So every time you open up a new account, anytime they see a huge change in your credit score, they'll send you an email that says your FICO score has changed. That way you can check and make sure that it's changed, like you're aware of the change and what's going on. So the next thing that we can do is also complete a dark web scan through Experian. And this will also just do a full check on the internet to see if your email, your phone number, or social security number has been compromised on the dark web. So sometimes when you do like a surface level search, you might not know if someone is using your social security number to steal your identity, but this does like full coverage of all of that. And so earlier we had gone to our account pages where we saw the full credit report, the account summary, that's where the report number is, everything like that. That's like your account page. And at the top of the page, you'll also see these different symbols and options. And if you scroll through, it'll tell you what each of these means. But right now we're just going to focus on the second symbol with these concentric circles. And so you want to click on this option to complete the dark web scan. And there should be something that pops up that says click or that says start scan. And you want to click on that and then click view my report. And it should complete everything for you. If it shows you that your social security number is compromised, that can be a pretty big issue and you want to contact the authorities as soon as possible. You can also file a report with the government. Again, you can file a report with the IRS at www.irs.gov/UAC/identity protection, or you can call them at this number 1-800-908-4490. I leave this up for a second, but you can also pause the video here if you want to write this down or copy it. And earlier, the website that we went to, the identitytheft.gov, that website, you can also go there to place an alert on your social security number. And if they see any activity that's happening with it, they can coordinate with you and contact you. But it's very important to file a report with the IRS and make sure that people are not using your social security number to file any taxes or anything. And that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help.